Hi, I'm Frank, and I've been educating myself in the past few months in the world of augmented reality, but most of all in the world of a schizophrenic person.
Schizophrenia was first identified more than a century ago, but we still don't know its exact causes. It remains one of the most misunderstood and stigmatized illnesses today. So let's walk through what we do know, from symptoms to causes and treatments.
So let's talk about it. I'll briefly talk about the timeline for the project and what happened during key moments within that timeline. First off, we have the first period. We had to make a product to innovate ourselves. My first thought was to make something for iOS right away. It's the result of an internship where I tried working on an existing iOS project. And with an app that I can build from the ground up, I can focus on one thing at a time and actually learn something. So that actually explains why I've chosen to make something for iOS in the first place. So iOS will be the main target, but what would I make? The interest in schizophrenia has been with me my entire life, since my uncle is schizophrenic. Right now, it seemed like the right time to start getting into it. I read a book by Iris Sommer, who talked about the disorder, and I made some notes about it. Then I read another book about a girl named Saskia Bos. She taught me that medicine can be intense and completely change your personality. I learned about psychosis and the Dutch way of handling schizophrenia. When my uncle told me about his experience back in February, I was stunned. I wanted to see what it was like because I could not empathize with him. Then I knew what I wanted to make, a tool that lets people understand what it's like to be schizophrenic. In order to envision a real product, I wanted to make a prototype first. I decided to make this in Sketch. Sketch helped me build the main user interface, and therefore I created a clickable prototype for an intriguing onboarding. I'll show you. So basically this is the prototype, and it starts with an onboarding, and that's actually, it looks like a chat, but it's not. It's actually a voice on the left side and you speaking on the other side. So let me tap hi here. I can give you two schizophrenic experiences. Well, how do they work? You see that it actually tries to explain the app in first hand. It's going to be two experiences, a voice experience and an AR experience. So let's go to the menu. But we will have to thank him first because he explained us. So let's thank him. And this is going to be the main interface, very simplistic because that's the way I just like this thing. If we're going to press the AR experience, it's going to ask us for permission. So let's agree to that. And the psychosis is now turned off. We're going to dismiss that. And if we press psychosis in the top right corner, oh no, wait, I have to tap on the screen. Actually, mistake there. We will get psychosis activated. And that's actually going to be a different screen. You can see that psychosis on the top right is green now. And then you'll probably see any object in the room which will be created for you. Shortly after creating this prototype, I pitched my idea with a peer from Finland. This was actually very exciting for me because I actually never pitched my idea to someone outside of the university before.
Actually their reality, so that's super interesting.
Yeah, this really sounds interesting because I don't know any schizophrenic people, so it could give like
Unfortunately.
me, yeah, it would give me an idea like what their daily life is. Yeah,
Yeah, really.
I'm speechless.
Right? Cool.
What does iOS have that can add value to the product? I noticed ARKit, an augmented reality framework for iOS applications that will make me code augmented reality experiences. Since I did not have the knowledge regarding this framework, I decided to go through an extensive course that I found on Udemy. This course also brought me a Discord community for junior iOS developers. It got me befriended with a Turkish student. During this time we exchanged feedback about our experiences, which actually really helped me contribute to the application. During the end of my first period, I was presenting my product to a couple of dragons Call it a dragon's den, if you will. With the story that I told and the drawings that I made in the keynote presentation, I was able to tell a proper story about the application that I was going to create. Now what's funny is that I spoke to one of the Dragon colleagues a week prior to this, and this colleague named Henry Latham, he helped me with the, setting up a right summary of the product. This meeting actually helped me create my executive summary, which is a business briefing. The executive summary actually taught me to think about the actual business side of things. I don't work for free, and if the app is finished, I would have to actually pay an annual fee to Apple to be able to publish something into the App Store. But how would I receive profits? I don't want my users to pay for something they might use once. Therefore, I'm going to implement a function where they can donate. If they want to donate, at least. Besides that, I was encouraged to talk to other companies for possible funding and so on, but more on that later. Period 2 arrived, and it was necessary for me to really start programming. So I resumed work on my course, but at the end, I found out that what I was programming was actually outdated. You see, I was programming in this version of ARKit, which was version 2, and it turns out Apple already created the new version, ARKit 3, together with RealityKit. This framework actually made it easier for me to make animations into the objects that I was going to create, and it was easier. With this technique, I was actually able to create a basic AR experience from scratch with an application on the iPad. This application is called Reality Composer. So I tried that. And I have to say it worked pretty well, but there were some limitations, but I could live with that. Let me talk to you briefly about the business side of things again. I wanted to contact more people, get some advice on my application, but my questions actually led to this big union here in the Netherlands called Anoixis. And I tried sending several emails back and forth, but unfortunately, this communication ended with no benefit for me. Still, this got me thinking whether or not this was the right company to start off with, or maybe it was my tone of voice that broke off the communication. What I tried to do was posting my questions on a subreddit on Reddit, which is this social media platform. And actually I got in touch with several schizophrenic people, in a total of 5, let's say. And they told me about their experiences and about their psychosis that they were experiencing. Some were negative and some were positive. And I'm actually trying to implement new levels of the psychosis inside the application later on in the weeks to come. Contacting these people from all across the planet really widened my view, let's say. Because from the comfortable seat of my own home, I could be in touch with nearly anyone in the world, anywhere. It was time for me to meet with my Finnish peer again. A couple of weeks have went past and we decided to meet up again. He was enthusiastic as always, but his project didn't go nearly as planned as he thought that it was going to be. So basically, we were in the same boat. I told him about my process and he gave me some feedback, to which the most important piece of feedback was that I should have decided on which technology to use way sooner, which is absolutely right. So we're nearing the end of the project, but my product wasn't nearly finished. I figured it might be a wonderful idea to continue with this product during the summer, because for me it's a good coding practice and it will help me pile up a solid portfolio for later on. Then there was this creative tech fest coming up for school, and we had to make up a Kickstarter video. But if I think about a Kickstarter video, it reminds me of this sales pitch by this guy in a fancy suit, and for me that didn't sound right, especially not for this type of product. So I decided to make a video wherein you play the schizophrenic person. It's in his point of view. You might have seen it. If so, great. Hope you spotted all the errors inside the video, because they're there on purpose. So I was able to receive some great feedback from this tech fest, and one of the teachers recommended me to take a look at another business called Sync VR. It turns out that Sync VR is the biggest VR platform in the medical care. I'm still a bit hesitant to contacting them, but I think it's definitely worth the shot. So my actual prototype is nearly there. I'm ready to open the beta testing area, but this is also the area where the Apple App Store review team comes into place. Based on my iOS internship, I cannot say that they are necessarily good guys. They were counterintuitive and aren't very helpful regarding their feedback. My app got rejected due to a lack of clarity in the app description, and I'm still trying to improve this. If I improve this, I can finally test this app with the public in test flight. So if it's ready, I'll send you guys an invite. This project has been all around innovating yourself, which brings me to the next question, actually the biggest question in the room here. Did I innovate myself? Well, I think I did. These past few weeks have taught me what it's like to create a product from scratch all by yourself. And I learned that I should have decided on using specific technology in the first place, instead of hopping over every now and then. I learned about the business side of things. I learned about me not working for free. I have to earn money, otherwise I'm just losing it. I learned about this mental disorder called schizophrenia. Split Mind has been an amazing product to toy with, and I'm actually super excited to continue working on it in the next following weeks. Which brings me to the next step. So I'm working on an email that I'll be sending to Sync VR, and within this email I'm asking for advice on how they use VR technology and what they think of augmented reality solutions. I'll show you. So here's my draft. It's in Dutch, so I'll briefly go over it and then we'll be sending it together. It's a short introduction saying what kind of study I do and how long the project has been going on, and the reason why I'm working on an application around schizophrenia. Further on, I'm asking if they have any experience with augmented reality apps instead of virtual reality. And right now I'm still researching how I get the best 3D models into the application so I can finally actually push it into the App Store. So I've entered the email address, it's from my email, and the subject is tips on AR and schizophrenia. Ready to send it. And there we go.